Hello, everyone. I'm Benji Garcia, President of POWERinU Training and Coaching Philippines, and I'm your host for today. Welcome to today's complimentary webinar entitled Optimizing Ownership and Accountability in a Generation of Silent Quitting. Let me now introduce our speaker for today's webinar, who is someone of Suki for POWERinU. He is Orly S. Agawin. Orly is an experienced talent development and management consultant. He has been recognized for his leadership contributions, including receiving the Presidential Award for Student Leadership for his role in establishing the National Student Training Program Act at the Philippine Normal University, where he got his bachelor's degree in secondary education, majoring in English. He also earned a Fulbright Scholarship and a master's degree in language and literature from New York University. Orly also holds a Master of Arts in Education, majoring in English language teaching program from the Philippine Normal University. Currently, he is pursuing his postgraduate studies at the Asian Institute of Management, specializing in innovation and business. Orly's expertise in talent development and management is highly regarded. He was honored with the BPO Training Manager Excellence Award by the Philippine Society for Training and Development, or PSTD, for his outstanding work in the academe industry linkages and leadership training programs for the business process outsourcing sector. As the senior consultant for the Information Technology and Business Process Outsourcing Association of the Philippines, or IBPAP, he leads talent development initiatives for the IT BPM industry. In 2013, Orly established OSA Training and Educational Services, consulting network that provides training and development programs for academic and corporate partners in the Philippines. Through OSA, he has successfully delivered a wide range of in-house training programs, including leadership fundamentals, emotional competence, social and emotional intelligence for managers, leading and managing teams, transformational coaching and mentoring, executive coaching, change management, stakeholder management, performance management, and executive presence. I'm sure this is not a complete list anyway. OSA has conducted over 1,500 training sessions nationwide. That's a lot, making a significant impact on individuals and organizations. So I'm sure you're all excited to hear about silent quitting. And so may I ask everyone to welcome Orly Agawin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sir Benji. It's always an honor to take part of your monthly webinar for POWERinU. And good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining today's talk on optimizing accountability at the time of silent quitting. In today's fast-paced and ever-evolving work environment, silent quitting has become a prevalent issue that can negatively impact productivity and morale. So this talk, when POWERinU reached out to me, I thought about, what about if we talk about silent quitting, and us as leaders, as HR leaders, as stakeholders, business owners, or probably if, emerging and developing team members in the workplace. I thought about the importance of us being aware of the concept of silent quitting, its presence in the workplace, as well as what is it that we can do to manage and address these issues. So this talk will delve into the strategies and insights for optimizing accountability in the face of silent quitting. Dear friends, with the rise of remote work, changing employee expectations and shifting dynamics, it has been a crucial thing for organizations to address silent quitting and foster a culture of accountability to maintain productivity and engagement. So, throughout this session, what we will do is we will explore the manifestations or the symptoms, as well as the impact of silent quitting. We will also delve into the strategies, no, on how we could encourage accountability and discuss the role of leadership in optimizing ownership and responsibility. Hopefully, um, by the end of this session, we will have actionable insights to cultivate a more accountable and engaged workforce. So I encourage you, dear friends, to take as much notes as you can, ask questions and hopefully participate in the discussion. So let's dive into the topic and explore the ways how we could optimize accountability at the time of silent quitting. Um, in a very ideal world, in a very ideal workplace, um, high engagement is something that we always aim for. And symptoms and manifestations of an ideal workplace would include high productivity, and that would be manifested by high quality of work, meeting or exceeding deadlines. No, um, there's also proactivity among team members, proactivity among business owners and our stakeholders and leaders. No, as they take initiative, they try to seek out opportunities to contribute. No, another would be an interdependent relationship across different functions through manifested collaborations, no? Where the team players and the team players are working towards common goals and business targets. We also see people manifest creativity in the work that they do. They try to innovate, they solve problems and generate new ideas, not just for the business, but also for the everyday processes that they come up with. No, um, another in terms of behavior, we see positive attitude towards work. No, we are enthusiastic. In an ideal workplace, people are motivated towards work. No, there's also the promise of professional development where people see opportunities of growth in the workplace. They see future. They see that they would stay in this organization and contribute as much as they can because of the promise of professional development. And when we talk about professional development, it's not just a promise, but also something that could also be that is also manifested in the workplace through learning and development initiative, coaching initiatives, and other things that leadership could do. Ultimately, a manifestation of an ideal workplace engagement is company loyalty or loyalty to the organization. They have this strong sense of loyalty to the business, to the work that they do, to the people that are around them. However, in March of 2020 came this global pandemic that caught us by surprise. It just didn't impact our lives at home, but it also impacted the way we do work. The landscape of work, of the teams and of businesses suddenly changed overnight. And because of these changes, it caused disruptions. Remote work and safety protocols created different levels of challenges. If you would remember, during the first quarter of during the first quarter of the pandemic, there was this really great struggle as to the transition from the physical landscape to the virtual landscape. And us, we went through that exodus, and we did ourselves we did our very best to thrive in that kind of transition, and embracing that new environment. Apart from that, during the pandemic, there were financial difficulties. It's something that we cannot deny. Something that, we also not just see in our homes and in our immediate environments, but also something that was really very evident, even outside our environments. No, people were laid off. People were, were this, even if they have work, na-reduce yung mga hours of work, no, ultimately impacting resources for the individual. We start to feel stressed, anxious. We suddenly thought about, oh nga, no, there's the future. There is health. There is death, no? In everything that we do, there are inevitable things that we should be facing. During the pandemic, during the lockdowns, it was a moment for us to really reflect on who we are, what we do, what the future is, and how can we do better if all goes back to normal, if there would be something normal to go back to, no? Um, Also, the pandemic impacted the level of engagement of our people because of virtual teams, of the virtual workplace. We don't see our friends and colleagues anymore as much as we used to, no? Ultimately impacting our level of engagement and connection with the organizations that we work for. But and having said all of those, no, biglang dumating, no, suddenly silent quitting ultimately ignited because of the pandemic. So there will always be the question, what is silent quitting? No? If you would look at your screen, silent quitting or quiet quitting or hushed quitting in other resources would say that it is the act of disengaging from a task or a project, no? Without actively communicating the decision to quit. It could take many forms, from not finishing the work to dodging responsibility and disengaging from teamwork. No? So as you can see, quiet quitting is really not just resigning. No? It doesn't actually follow the term quitting. It's not a literal, it doesn't take the literal meaning of the phrase. No? When we say quiet quitting, it is a softer approach than outright leaving a job. No, the term isn't literal, but also a play of words. No, rather than workers quitting the job, they are quitting the idea of going above and beyond the expectations. If you would go back at how we are measured and how we are appraised in the workplace, we have this competency levels of meets expectations, no, did not meet expectation, needs improvement, that's going down. And if it goes beyond it, at meets expectation, exceeds expectations. No? So there's this concept of exceeding expectation and then ultimately outstanding. No? Quiet quitting or silent quitting is just being happy, meeting and delivering what is expected of them. No? And we will be looking at this kind of issue this evening and examine if is it good or bad. No? Um, weren't we as employees, as people, as leaders, weren't we hired to meet expectations to begin with? No? However, resources would say that silent quitters are unhappy with some aspects of their current role in the company. Sometimes they're quite unhappy with the company in itself, no? That they choose only to complete the bare minimum, no? So dito na pumapasok yung mga usapang Honda, no? Honda dot. If you would remember, during back in the days of the pandemic, some of us, no, were really stuck in the computer because everything was really virtual, no? And when the time comes for us to, like, the shift is over, we just leave the computer and go back to our personal lives. So there will always be this question: is it bad to be Honda? No? Uh, is it wrong if I also um is there something wrong if I if I push for and if I push for and I aim for a more balanced work life experience, no? So that would always be the questions that the studies have delved into in the past few years, no? Um, Another question too is, are Filipinos silently quitting in the Philippine setting? No, in January of this year, in Philippine Star, there was this article on silent quitting. No, and research shows, no, according to a study conducted by the Milu Insight, no, a consumer data analytics company, they say that 60% of employees or team members in the Philippines have engaged in silent quitting. And this behavior is attributed to factors such as low salary, limited opportunities for their careers, hope for the future, you know, and interest in knowing what will the company do if something like the COVID-19 pandemic comes along, no? And if you would look at this, looking at the data saying that 60% of our Filipino workforce are quitting silently is quite alarming. It means that 60% are only providing the bare minimum or just meeting expectations. No? Another thing that we also might want to look into would be, what are the manifestations of silent quitting? How can I say that we are quitting silently, that people are detaching or moving away from exceeding expectations, or for delivering something that are beyond what is expected of them, no? And here are some of the ways, no? Number one, to decode silent quitting, it starts with stage one. It starts with the emotional stage. And in the emotional stage, some physical manifestation would be being a silent observer in meetings, no? Less or no contributions to projects, no participation in planning and initiatives. And you might want to, as we go along this pyramid, I encourage you to reflect, no? Uh, Not just, think about your team members, the people under you, your leaders, but also you might want to look to think about, how are you manifesting these symptoms, no? Are you also are you also starting to realize that you are, in one way or the other, silent quitting? The next stage would be the mental stage. What is it that they think, no? Uh, and how do they manifest that? In the mental stage, they explicitly express their disinterest to request or to go beyond KPIs. They don't provide extra hours anymore, no? There's a refusal to work on weekends, and there's isolation or disconnection from peers and colleagues, no? So may sarili siyang mundo, no? And if this goes deeper, we see a more physical manifestation, which is on stage 3, which is arriving late or leaving early, and tardiness at work, calling sick more often, and withdrawal from work-related conversations. Ultimately, if we are not going to provide solutions or manage these different levels, no, we will see these people would eventually resign, no? In the US, when they talk about silent quitting, they don't talk about the symptoms anymore. They don't talk about stages 1 to 3 anymore. They talk about the mass resignation of 2022 and 2023, where people started to really detach from work and really resign. They saw that there are opportunities outside. There are there are there are there are other organizations or other opportunities that would provide them with um, something that would impact their own individual motivations. No? So symptoms of silent quitting would normally be about, like, passive non-compliance. They don't interact anymore. No, I mean, like, they don't comply to our guidelines, to the work that we do. There's active disengagement. We see people in LinkedIn, makikita na lang natin in their profiles that they're actively searching. There's this concept now, no, of what they call the presenteeism, wherein, yes, I'm here, but my mind and heart are not here. No, so I'm just here, and this was very much evident during the time of the virtual teams. No, na parang, yeah, I'm just here, but I'm just, I'm not a video thumbnail. I'm just a picture thumbnail in Zoom or in Google Meet. And if you ask me to open my camera, I'll just say that my camera's not working. But don't worry, guys, I'm here. No, I'm just on mute. No, and then eventually emotional withdrawal. It's very interesting, because as we study silent quitting, we understand that this comes not from anywhere else, but from emotions. No? And we'll be talking about that, more about that later on. Consequently, we see the business impact of silent quitting, and that would be decreased productivity. When employees disengage or stop completing tasks, productivity can really suffer, and lead to project delays and missed deadlines. There's low morale, and it impacts engagement. Um, it can lead to lack of motivation, not just for the person in question or for the silent quitter, but also impact others. No, if you as a leader is allowing this one person to silently quit, how do you think would that impact other members in your team? It also impacts the quality of work that we do, no, for our teams, for the processes in operations and in business. No, it leads to lower quality products or services, and potentially lose customers or clients. And further, because of resignations, it could, be costly for the company, because of costly turnovers, wherein, we have to hire new talents, that to bring in new talents, because we have resignations or mass resignations. No, so I wouldn't want to deal so much with the symptoms of client quitting. I'd like us to look at how this impacts the business. No, much as we want to look at, okay, so I have a silent quitter, but does it even matter? Remember, silent quitting, as what I've said, is actually rooted on emotions, and emotions impact other emotions. No, and that's really very critical to understand, because we see how that impacts other people in the team. No, so another thing, no, I'd like to break the myth on silent quitting. No, there's always this question. There's always this, myth about, ngayon lang yang silent quitting, no? Ngayon lang yang mga silent quitters. Well, based on my research on silent quitting, it is not necessarily generational. No? I'm part of the Gen X, no, and I also have friends na mga baby boomers. My mom is a baby boomer, and she has been telling me stories about how they would just deliver work during the last few years prior to her retirement, just because she wanted to have it over and done with. She was just waiting for her retirement. So silent quitting is not necessarily generational. I think, no, and this is me, I think it's just that now that we were able to identify and give a name to it. And by identifying and giving a name to it, we now have the power and the awareness, much more the power to manage this psychological phenomenon in the workplace. As what I've mentioned, it can also be observed across different age groups, no, and generations in the workplace, no. However, factors such as changes in work values and preferences may influence how individuals from different generations work and disengage. No, sometimes younger generations may prioritize work-life balance and may be more likely to quit silently if they feel overwhelmed or unsupported. No, older generations, no, such as us, no, may value job security and may less likely to leave without actively communicating their decision to quit. Ultimately, the reasons for silent quitting are complex. No, always remember that. And multifaceted, and that they may vary depending on individual circumstances in the workplace culture. So it's something that I'd like to put on the table, dear friends. No? Hindi lamang Gen Zs at millennials ang nagsa-silent quit. We also have Gen Xers who are silently quitting now. And us leaders have to be aware. And we 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 dive down into the question. So do silent quitters still have a sense of accountability? No, I'm going to look at the chat box and let's try to have. I'm seeing the chat box now. Thank you, everyone. They want to work from home, not hybrid work. Actually, that's very true. Thank you, Ed. I saw your your chat here, and sometimes that's very true. No, one of the things that recruiters nowadays have been noticing was that most of our workforce now, especially those that are looking for work, are, well, most of them are expecting hybrid work, no, opportunities to work from home, because they saw that there is an opportunity naman pala. There's something, we could flexibly move the workplace from the office to the home. No? So it's something that we could also look into. But first, I'm looking at the chat box, and if you have access to the chat box, let's answer this question. No, do you think silent quitters still have a sense of accountability? The answer could be yes or no, or maybe, or I don't know. I'm just looking at the chat box. I'll be giving you like a few seconds to do that. What do you think? Do silent quitters still have a sense of accountability? Sir Benji says yes, no? They still have a sense of accountability. What about the others? Alma thinking yes, with their companies. Yes, thank you, Ed. Thank you, Alma. No? I'll still be looking at the chat box, but Loren says yes as well. No? As a matter of fact, dear friends, yes, no? They have, no? But before that, let's understand what accountability really means, no? Accountability is being responsible for one's actions and decisions. It involves accepting consequences, no, and explaining them to others. No, it also shows the willingness to take steps to make amends and improve and develop. No, and because when people manifest accountability, they create trust and responsibility in the workplace. So ultimately, we could say that accountability is linked to achieving goals and fulfilling responsibilities. And it is the key to contributing to organizational success. Probably this is the reason why us as leaders, are looking for people who are accountable. Whenever we would recruit, whenever we would interview people, we would look at their sense of accountability and responsibility as well, because this is a behavior that cannot be taught, no? But you know what? Accountability is not just a skill, no? It is also an emotion. No? Let me repeat that. Accountability is not just a skill, but also an emotion. It is a feeling of personal ownership and responsibilities for one's actions and decisions. And like other emotions, accountability can be chosen or unchosen. No? So it's something that I'd like us to think about and reflect on. Before, pag sinasabi natin accountability, it's a behavior, no? It's a behavior. But where does the behavior come from? It comes from an emotion. And if it is an emotion, you can choose or unchoose it, no? So accountability is not just a rational decision, but a deeply felt emotion that drives individuals to act in the best interest of themselves and their organization. So going back to the question, do silent quitters have a sense of responsibility? Your answer in the chat box is yes. And yes, no? They are still accountable. They choose to be accountable to in different areas or to different areas in their lives, no? It could be their personal lives, their family, their loved ones, the world, others, no? I have this one um interesting conversation with one Gen Zers, no? So it's a member of the Gen Z, and I noticed that one morning she was late at work, no? And I saw her just, even if she was like 2 hours late for work, hindi siya tumatakbo dun sa workstation niya, no? She was just, like strolling, unapologetically late. Sabi nga. Then she sat and then she did what she had to do, no? So when we had this coaching session, no, and I asked her, no, I noticed that a couple of days back you were late, but it appeared to me that you weren't in a hurry, parang okay lang sa'yo na late ka, parang you don't care if yung iba ay maagang dumating, you came and you went home, things like that. And I can still remember what her answer to me was, no? Sabi niya, Orly, ay late na ako, wala na akong magagawa doon. Yun sabi niya sa akin. There's nothing I can do about the fact that I was already late. And if there's a need, why would there still be a need for me to run to my work area? We're in. It's just going to be the same, even if I run or walk. Another, we have so much problem in the world that makes this idea of being late last Tuesday so tiny as compared to what's happening in the world. We have so many issues. We have so many concerns about our lives and the world that we have to look at and solve. Yung pagiging late ko is just a speck of dust as compared to the problems that we are faced with now. And ito yung sinasabi natin, no? This is what books would or resources would call the woke generation. No? They're very much woke. They're not just thinking about the work that they do, but they also think about the environment. No? May global warming na, Orly, problema pa ba yung late ako kahapon? Something like that. And whether you like it or not, it is rampant now. It is something that is more sensible to this younger generations that we have. No? Yes, dear friends, they are still accountable, but they choose to be accountable for something else, no? And which brings us now to the question, us leaders in organizations, us business owners, us human resource partners, no, who'd like to encourage people development, ultimately impacting business targets and business results, no? What is my accountability to my silent quitters? What is it that I can do, I could start doing to encourage them to develop their accountability and their ownership to the work that they do and to the team and to the business. Because by asking these questions, we begin to understand that we too have our share of accountability to the emotions and choices of our team members. No? In the book Extreme Ownership, this is one best-selling book on accountability. It's something that I'd like to put out there because this is also one of my resources. According to Willink and Babin, leaders should bear full responsibility and accountability to enable the team and their individual team members to become successful and accountable to the work that they do. Accountability, dear friends, starts with leadership. I cannot just simply make, Penny accountable to something just because I want her to be accountable. I cannot just ask Benji, be accountable. Accountability, like other emotions, should start with you. And it's about you impacting and influencing others to become accountable as well. So, dear friends, always keep that in mind. When we talk about narratives on accountability, ownership, and responsibility, we leaders need to set the initial tone and establish expectations within the organization. In the book, Accountability, no, the title of this book, this is another book on accountability, something you might also want to check out, The Key to Driving High Performance Culture. Greg Gabin came up with 7 pillars of accountability, no? And if you would look at this, these are the 7 pillars. And there will always be the question. So, Orly, what are the things that we should look into? What are the things that we should consider in preparing ourselves to be more accountable, not just to ourselves, but to our people in the work and the workplace, no? So it's critical that we look at these different areas. I'm sorry. Into these different areas, which is, character, unity, learning, clarity, tracking, urgency, and communication. No? When we talk about character, it's about demonstrating integrity as leaders. No, ethical behaviors in all the actions and the behaviors that we manifest, or we exhibit. The unity is to build a cohesive and collaborative team, and this is the reason why we do team buildings. No, most of the time we do team buildings just for the sake of fun, and that's just fine because it builds trust. No, it builds trust and it manifests our vulnerability as people, and that's the beginning of team development. But consider building a unified force through these interventions, through these team development initiatives. Number 3, according to Babin, is about learning. No? Pursuing continuous learning in the workplace. How often do we train our people? How often do we coach them? What are the things that we put into the curriculum of our learning and development programs? Being clear about our expectations, being clear with what we expect from our people is also a part of the 7 pillars of accountability according to Babin, and that falls under clarity. No? Sometimes we ask people, but parang wala kang pakialam, as if you don't care. No? Only to find out that we ourselves were not clear of our expectations of our people, from our people. Another important pillar too is number 5, and that is tracking. And that is establishing a system to track and measure progress, manage results, and hold individuals accountable for their commitment. When we talk about accountability, there's always this conversation or narrative on urgency. pinapakita natin that there is a need for speed of delivery. There's a need for urgent delivery of tasks and of outputs, and committing to promises. And finally, the seventh pillar that embraces these all, no, according to Babin, is communication. What's the quality of communication do you have in place in the organization and in the workplace? No, are we more transparent now, or are we less transparent? Are we aligned with our communications? No, and when we say alignment, do I speak the language of my people? Communication also says something about connection or empathy. No, and it's something that we would look into as we go along in the next few slides. So there will always be the question, what is it that I can do, no, in establishing a culture of accountability? No, so in the coming slides, I'll be sharing with you a few action items that you could start thinking about. And these are the insights or the core of our discussion when it comes to approaching and managing our silent quitters. No? Number one is to serve as a role model. No, when leaders lead by example, they inspire and encourage accountability within their teams. No, so by demonstrating accountable behaviors, leaders set the standard for others to follow. So, as what I've mentioned earlier, accountability, that being an emotion, is something that also influences other people. When we're happy and we manifest our happiness, there's a chance that people around us could be happy as well. No? So, like accountability, if I show accountability, it could impact and and be a contagious something that a contagious emotion that others may also embrace. Next would be to establish a safe space, no? And we have always been hearing this word, safe space. This is a safe space. You are in a safe space. You could be, you can be open. But are we really sure that that space is really safe? No, because a safe space is a space that doesn't judge, no? It's a non-judgmental environment where employees or team members feel comfortable expressing their concerns, their challenges. So while establishing safe space, no, we encourage open dialogue. No, one more. I'll just hit a few. Right. Okay. So so as we establish, no, to be able to establish safe spaces, we encourage open dialogue, no, to address the underlying issues that may be contributing to silent quitting, no. Uh, and we can't emphasize this much, no, but listening actively and empathizing with the feelings that people bring on the table is something that is valuable, something that is really very critical. Understanding where they're coming from, understanding what areas are they accountable, they see they see accountability on, because identifying these factors will dictate and help you identify what their motivations are, no, and aligning and embracing and respecting those motivations will help you align and eventually manage other people, their own emotions, no. So next is to set expectations that are clear and understandable, no. And it's something that we always put on the table. Set expectations, be clear with what you want, no. But the question would always be about, are they clear, were they understandable, no. As leaders, setting clear and understandable expectations is essential to align your team with what is expected from them, no? So we can do this by ensuring that employees understand their roles, the responsibilities, and performance expectations, no? While hearing their motivations and goals, it is also critical, dear friends, to assert their importance for the business to grow. Na kailangan din namin kayo, no? Most of the time, what we tell them is what they need to do, no? That they need us more than we need them, no? But at this point, we can also assert their importance for the business to grow and invite them to see the bigger picture, no? It's also critical that you clearly communicate the impact of their work on the team and organization. And finally, recognize that expectations may need to be adjusted based on changing circumstances and priorities or feedback, no? Let's be open to reassessing and refining expectations to ensure that they remain relevant and achievable. This falls under the concept of learning in the pillars of accountability, no? As a leader, offering support and resources to silent quitters is crucial to help them overcome their disengagement and foster accountability. Let's bring back the open door policy, no? Where we create environments where silent quitters feel comfortable approaching you with their concerns. Individual check-ins, no? Like considering scheduling regular one-on-ones and being faithful about it, no? Because you yourself need to be accountable to your commitments as well. Um, Emotional support. It's recognizing that silent quitters may be dealing with personal or professional challenges. No? We offer empathy and emotional support, providing resources such as counseling services or employee assistance program. Encouraging ownership and problem solving by empowering people to be accountable, no? By encouraging people to take accountability through problem solving and decision making, you pave the way to establishing a culture of ownership. You can do this by delegating effectively, by fostering a growth mindset, and promoting a culture of collaboration across cross-functional teams. This is something that I'd also like to put on the table, you know. Probably something that you have already been doing with your people, or something probably that your leaders have been doing for you, no? But how faithful are we and how loyal are we with this kind of culture? Wherein we work with the individual or we work with our leaders in co-developing a career path for our futures or for their futures, no? Because this is really very critical. Including them in the conversation, making them facilitate the conversation, and providing them opportunities to control the narratives in terms of their career path is also very critical. Because this process between the employee and their leaders help shape and plan for long-term career growth and development. It's more of like communicating, we are here for you. We'd like to know what motivates you, and we'd like to align how our support could help you with your motivation and for you could help you achieve whatever motivates you. No? It involves actively working together to identify individual strengths and goals. No? I have this one client, um, and one of the things that I asked the client then was, how were you able to address the issue on accountability now that we're going back to this new normal of going back, of the return to office? And sinabi niya sa akin, no, na parang we started when we noticed that there's a decrease in accountability among our people. They have started considering establishing accountability partnerships, no? And they have seen that when individuals are partnered with others as their accountability partners, they experience benefits and opportunities for personal growth and workplace development. No? There's enhanced motivation, knowing that they're not alone. There's increased commitment. No? Having a partner increases the sense of responsibility. And they were able to provide feedback with one another and gain different perspectives. So as you can see, dear friends, these are the things that we could do. Establish accountability, partnerships, developing a career path, encouraging ownership and problem solving, providing learning and development interventions, setting clear and understandable uh, expectations, establishing a safe space, and being an example are some of the many things that we could do. No, it's something that we could start doing in order for us to show our people that we are becoming aware of the decrease of accountability and the increase of presence of our silent quitters in the workplace. So in summary, I'd like to us to go back, no, in the past few minutes, no. We have talked about how the workplace has changed, no, and how the ideal workplace and how the pandemic affected the way we work and the way we think, no. Global crisis and pandemic have shifted the way we think about our future, the way we think about our family, our safety, our health, and our lives, no. And this, in a way, impacted the way we think about the work that we do, no? Thus, the rise of post-pandemic silent quitting. People start thinking differently about the work that they do. Na parang, ang dami naman dyan eh, no? Kailangan ko lang may trabaho, at least may trabaho ako, no? And people start making demands, as what Ed said, no? And even if these are, bare minimum deliverers, no, there's still impact to the business. Silent quitting still has an impact, no. It is becoming a recurring issue that we need to address. So, we also talked about understanding what accountability really is and how leaders should take the first lead, no? So now we know that accountability is a behavior that is rooted in an emotion, and that we choose, or we can unchoose these emotions, and we can unchoose or choose to be accountable. Leaders bear full responsibility to enable the team and individuals to become successful. And we have talked about the 7 pillars of accountability in order for us to optimize a culture of accountability to manage our silent quitters. So, dear friends, throughout this talk, we have explored the impact of silent quitting, strategies to encourage accountability, and the role of leadership in optimizing ownership and responsibility. In today's fast-paced work landscape, cultivating a culture of accountability is vital, for maintaining productivity, engagement, and achieving organizational success. By implementing the discussed strategies, organizations can transform silent quitting into active engagement, where individuals take ownership of the work that they do and contribute to a thriving workforce. No? So, and as a management and a talent development consultant, I encourage you to reflect on the insight that we have shared today and identify actions that you can take to foster accountability within your team or organization. Let us leaders, let us commit to creating workplaces that prioritize accountability, empower individuals, and foster a culture of ownership. Together, we can optimize accountability and drive success in the face of silent quitting. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Orly, for that very informational and very passionate delivery of your topic. If we were not on a webinar, I'd say it feels like a TED Talk
Really?
That's what we have attended. Anyway, we'd like to open the floor for questions from the audience. You may type your questions in the chat box, or if you'd like to voice out your question, express your question directly, you may raise your hand using the reaction icon, and we will unmute. The only thing though is we only have about a few minutes for
I'm really
left
very sorry. I'm
for
really very sorry. I think I
for
owe
questions.
overtime ako.
Okay. While people are perhaps waiting, I have a question, Orly, for you. Your material provided us with a lot of information, particularly focusing on the role of the leader.
Right.
What about the employee himself?
Mm.
What are some strategies or techniques that the employee, the individual themselves can do to overcome the temptation of silent quitting?
Yeah. It's interesting, no? Kasi nga there's always this idea that silent quitting is a chosen emotion, no? Na pinili ko ito, na I choose to be silent, I choose to be silently quitting at work, but not silently quitting at home, no? Because as much as as what we've said, accountability is a chosen emotion, and it's really very dynamic. Actually, the mere fact, no, Sir Benji, if people are starting to be aware of their silent quitting and how their silent quitting impacts the work that they do or influences other team members, no, it says so much about their willingness to change, no, their perspective and their willingness to manage that emotion and align better emotions and better accountability towards others. So ano yung dapat nating tingnan, no? If we are, we notice that I'm silent quitting pala, no? So I might want to look at what my motivations are, no? And how does my work align with those motivations, no?
Mhm.
If I do better with the work that I'm doing, how will that impact and influence the motivations that my personal motivations? Let's say, for example, about my family. If my family is my motivation, at mas involved ako sa family ko, I'm more accountable to my family, I could go back to my silent quitting at work and think about, if I do better at work, if I grow in this industry, how would that impact and influence my need for support for my family? So it's about you going back to your motivation. In emotional intelligence, di ba, nandiyan ang motivation eh, no? If there's always this question of how am I going to manage my emotion, you go back to you go to your motivation and question your motivation. What's my motivation? Is what I'm feeling right now aligned to me achieving what I want to achieve, no? So it's something that, silent quitters should start thinking about. What are their motivations and how do they think their silent quitting would impact their drive towards that motivation? I hope
Mhm.
I was able to answer the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for expounding on that one. I'm still waiting for questions. I do have a statement that I'd like you to react. Based on what you've shared, it 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 sounded to me like silent quitting is sort of like a shift that is happening in terms of in terms of power, I would say, between the employer and the employee,
Exactly.
in the sense that if they're prepared to quit, whether realistically resign or perform only at a level, barely at a level of the expectation, then or basically move more frequently from one job to the other when things situations don't suit them from their perspective, at least, then that seems to be shifting the power, if you will, no? From the employer to the employee. Can you comment on that?
That's really very true, no? With the kind of workforce that we have, the way we embrace people, the way that we embrace diversity, the way that we include people in the workplace, no? Um, there are new power struggles in the workplace now, no, that being shifting the power from the business owner, from the leader, to the team member. Now that the team member already has the power to choose. I already have the power to choose, no. I have the power to choose and decide for myself, no. Before before we went live, no, when we were at the backstage earlier, di ba, sabi natin, nung panahon natin, we stick to our jobs. We it's not just we love our jobs, but we dedicate our lives to the job, no. But looking back at it now, in the 90s, when I was in college and was about to enter the workforce, dalawa lang, Sir Benji, nung panahon ng 90s ang nare-regular ka sa agad sa trabaho, teacher at police, no? But nowadays, it's not like that anymore. Di ba? Nowadays, kapag naka 6 month na ako, automatic yun. Whether my leader or the business owner likes it or not, regular na ako. No? So there was during our time, having a job is something that we take seriously. No? It's not just people now doesn't take it seriously, but we have more options now. And kaya bumabalik tayo dun sa narrative na what is it that I can do as a leader and as an HR leader, as a business owner to 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 build that culture of accountability and make my people and my leaders value the work that they do in the organization in order to, address this power play, the power to choose. Let me provide them with something na let me provide them with a valuable option na pag-iisipan nila na bitawan.
Thank you, Orly. We have a question. I guess this will be the last question, and thank you to our attendees for staying on. We've gone past 8 o'clock. But anyway, a question from one of our directors. This is Elaine. Among the many strategies that you've shared to address silent quitting, which one would you recommend, or based on your research, which one has proven to be most successful?
I have two, no? I have two actually. At nilagay ko siya sa huli, no, Miss Elaine. Number one would be yung learning and development, no? Learning and development provides opportunities for people to see not just opportunities of enhancing what we're doing right here, right now, but also seeing potential growth in the future, no? When we reach out to individuals or to team members and offer opportunities for learning, we don't just open opportunities for them to develop skills for the current work that they do, but we also offer opportunities or a glimpse of what they could be in the organization and in the industry. No, so that's why in terms of that one, I would say first is learning and development. No, and that's probably why we are here. POWERinU is here. No, I mean it's something that we need as talent development consultants think about. No, that we're not just dealing with learners who are building skills right here, right now, but also make them see on how these skills could help them build a career or build as better individuals in the future. So that's number one. Number two is as simple as having an accountability partner. No, this is let's face it, it's the generation of TikTok. No, we're very, very isolated. As much as I mean, ang dami nating technologies. Technologies are everywhere. No, there are many ways on how we could effectively communicate with one another. But if you think about it, we are a silo generation. No, lagi tayong mag-isa. No, we kausap na lang natin si Siri. There was a time like 10 years ago, binibiro ko lang, baka dumating yung time na pag may problema ako, kausapin ko na lang si Siri, Siri, I have a problem. No? At kay Siri ako hihingi ng sagot sa aking mga problema. Apparently, ganyan pala, pwede na pala yun. No? And with the AI technology emerging, we're starting to build this silo environment. No? But at the end of the day, the human brain still needs someone. No? And that's where coaching comes in. No? That's where peer learning and partnerships come in. And we see values in this. And this one client that I really had took that accountability partnership program really very seriously. And it impacted the way that they work. It impacted the way that they deliver and exceed the expectations in terms of delivery and outputs among their people.
Thank you, Orly. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for your time, your expertise, your passion that you have shared with us tonight in this very
Thank you.
interesting topic. So we'll move on now as we proceed to closing our webinar. We invite you to subscribe to powerinU.com.ph to get updates on upcoming events, webinars, and free resources from POWERinU and its partners. Lastly, everyone can access the recording of this webinar through POWERinU's website, our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel. Everyone who registered in this webinar will automatically get an invite to POWERinU's next complimentary webinar, which is on June 15. Incidentally, that webinar is about women leaders in future of work, wellness, and innovation. This webinar will be hosted by POWERinU's newest director, Thelma Meneses, with guest speakers, Ms. Eunice Braga, a communications consultant and mentor for Philippines tech startups, and Ms. Jessica De Mesa, Filipino femtech pioneer and co-founder and CEO of Kindred Health Incorporated. Please join the webinar and listen as Eunice gives a short presentation on what we can learn from the fandoms about creating better work cultures, followed by a panel discussion with Jessica and Eunice on their challenges, failures, learnings, and successes as women leaders in the areas of future of work, wellness, and innovation. We also have a advertisement here, a reminder for you who may be interested to enroll in our public training. So we can see the screen on the screen, the different online programs that are made available starting June all the way to October. So you can find out more information by going to our website. And last, before we close, we would like to request again 10 seconds of your time to answer the short poll so that we can get your feedback. You can scan the QR code in the screen or click the link we sent in the chat. Once again, thank you in advance for your feedback. And with that, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. And we hope that we'll see you again in the next webinar on June 15. Have a pleasant evening to everyone.